Hey folks, my name is Dave. Welcome to our shop here at NTD Racing. We're getting ready for the Baja 1000 in a couple of weeks. We're setting up our chase rigs. We needed a good welder. So Harbor Freight sent us this Vulcan OmniPro 220 multi-purpose welder. We are going to go ahead and put this thing to the test. I don't even have time really to do like a dedicated video for this. I'm just going to show you when we use this thing in the field and setting up the chase rigs and let you know how it does compared to all the Miller welders that I have. However you got to this video, I think you'll like the content that we have. We build race trucks, we build chase rigs, and we also build things like rail cars. So if you like what you see here, please consider hitting the like and subscribe, leaving a comment, maybe ringing the bell for notification of future episodes. Let's go ahead, see what's inside the box. All right, first impressions. I'll tell you what, I'm pretty impressed. This thing is actually pretty nice. I'm kind of excited. I wasn't going to weld today, but now I'm going to go ahead and try to do a little bit of TIG welding. I got this thing plugged in to 230. It also comes with an additional plug here for 115. It looks like about 10 feet. I got it plugged all the way in over there on the wall next to my Miller. So we'll see how that does. You got the inlet for the gas also here on the back, and then just some more information about welding over here. Coming around, the instructions I thought were really good, the literature they have here, and also the quick startup guide. But what I really thought was cool is on the inside of this thing, which I never am out there with the instructions, but this thing has all the information you need to know, whether you're doing MIG, whether you're doing TIG, or you're doing stick welding. It tells you your duty rating and all those kinds of things. I find that to be really, really good information. And also in here, how to set up your wire spool. It talks about that. All the information is there. I have a 10-pound spool I just put in there. We'll try MIG welding out a little bit later, but today what we want to do is some TIG welding. As far as what I have hooked up here, this is first off the ground that they gave with the kit. I think the ground actually looks pretty good, so I'm pretty impressed with that. I am using my own TIG torch. You do not get a TIG torch with this kit, and this is a CK TIG torch, so I'll be using that, some of my favorite ones. And then also they do not give you a pedal with this kit either. So I had to purchase one of those, and the pedal goes in here and it does plug in right there. You can see the blue connector inside there. So we'll see how that all works. They also give you a regulator that's good for CO2 or argon. What I really like about this regulator is they give you the adapter there, which you can take off. The adapter for a CO2 bottle, so it'll work both on argon bottles and CO2 bottles. Getting this thing set up, looks like it's going to be pretty easy. It's really intuitive. You turn the thing on, it's going to give you kind of the welcome screen. And then a couple of the buttons it has here. It has a home button, which will take you back to the very beginning. It also has a back button, so if I do something and I hit it and I go, oops, that's not what I wanted to do, it'll take you back a screen. I'm going to do some TIG welding today. And here's really cool, is it shows you how to set this thing up. You need to set it up to an argon bottle. This left one, which says negative down here, needs to be your TIG welder. This right one over here needs to be your ground. So I say, okay, that's cool. Now I use a 3/16 electrode. We're going to be welding 10 gauge. I select OK. All right, sounds good. And so I think we're already set up. I think it's going to TIG with a pedal, 100% argon. It shows you all the information that you need right there, and it shows you how many amps it's set on. And I can change the amps. And usually as a good starting point, you set the amps equal to how many mils, the thickness of the metal that you're welding. So I find that for 1/8 inch, 100 amps, okay. Sometimes I maybe go a little bit higher, but we'll start with their generic settings there and see how it works. It does not have AC, so I don't think that you will be doing any welding with aluminum on this. Other things that you're going to get in the kit is you got the MIG welding torch. Looks like a good one to me. I usually don't MIG weld a whole bunch. I will MIG weld with this to give it a test and see how it goes. A couple other things here. I really like this. It gives you a gauge to show you how thick the metal is, and right there on there you can kind of see. If it's 0.125 with it, which is 1/8 inch, you set 125 on your TIG welder, and that's usually a pretty good starting point. I'll try the generic ones they have inside there. A couple extra tips for your MIG welder, and then some stick welding, which I generally don't do, but I might try it to see how it works. I usually don't do any kind of stick welding. So there you go. Let's go ahead and get this thing ready to go and try to weld a little bit of 1/8 inch with the TIG welder. All right, well, I lied. The TIG portion of this welder does not have a valve, so when you hit the pedal, it does not open the gas valve. So what I had to do is I switched over to my Weldcraft because I have a valve on here to turn the gas on and on, so I can crack it open and turn it on. What that means is now that the lead comes out, it goes in the same spot, but my gas line actually, you can see, goes directly to my bottle. So it doesn't go through the valve that's in here, which works for the MIG welder, does not work for the TIG welder. But it shouldn't be a big deal. You turn it on, weld, and then you just got to remember to turn it off so you don't waste all your gas. All right, as I get to this weld, we'll talk about some of the stuff I'm using. I'm using my Weldcraft torch. It's a big one. It's super heavy. I might go and try to get another CK that has a valve on it. Anyways, I'm using a 3/32 electrode 1/16 inch filler rod, and I clean everything with acetone, especially when I'm TIG welding. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good weld. I get my gloves from Jody at Welding Tips and Tricks. He has his Weldmonger store, and he does a great job with his videos, and so I like to support his store by buying some stuff. And I find that these are just some of the best gloves to TIG weld with. And as I weld this thing, what I really like also is that it has the lift arc thing. So you basically put the electrode to the part, you pedal down, you lift it, and it starts your arc. So I find that's really easy to use. I'm really happy with the way this thing is welding. Let's go ahead and take a look at this weld, and you'll see this is like literally my first weld with this machine. And I think it's pretty good. I would put that weld on just about anything. I think it's a really good weld, and I'm totally happy with it. I look forward to doing more welding with this as we build our next truck. All right, so we got this thing set up now for some MIG welding, and one thing that's different here is you got to swap some of the cables around. I spooled the thing. The instructions show you exactly how to do that, and I think they're really good. And anyway, let's go ahead and MIG weld this thing. One thing I noticed about this welder is it doesn't have fan on demand. The fan is basically on all the time. I can maybe go in the settings and see if it has it, but I don't think it does. But not a big deal, just something to think about, especially if you're out there in a dusty environment. It is constantly pulling dust through the electronics, but we'll see how it does. Here we go. Let's put down a little weld. Not bad. All right, let's take a look. That looks pretty good. I would say both those welds look pretty good. First one I was just doing some ease, and the second one I didn't start it very well, but I was just trying to do. Okay, I'm not very good MIG welder. You can see it did a pretty good job burning through there, though. I was trying to make it look like a stack of dimes. I don't know. I could probably keep working on that a little bit, but I'd be happy with those welds all day long. All right, I totally lied. I said I wasn't going to break this thing out and start doing test runs, but as I started welding, I was like, this is actually a blast. As it turns out, welders don't need any kind of therapy because it's just fun welding. It's very gratifying. So I was just laying down welds, and I'll tell you what, I'll put this up against any of my other welds on my Miller. I'm not a professional welder, but I would put that on anything that I needed to hold together. So there's a MIG weld. This is me making ease with the MIG welder. This is me trying to make something that looks like laying down dimes or whatever. So I can dial that in a little bit. Here is a TIG weld. I think it went down pretty good. As good as anything else I've been welding with. So I'm actually really super happy with the quality of the weld. This here, those are all 1/8 inch. This is me laying down a weld on 1/4 inch. This is the stuff that you might use to maybe to make a trailer hitch or something like that. Again, I think a really nice weld on those. So super happy with the quality of the welds that we're getting from this Vulcan OmniPro 220. Good job, Harbor Freight. Okay, that was a total pleasant surprise. The Harbor Freight Vulcan OmniPro 220 completely exceeded my expectations. I really wasn't planning on making this video so quick and just taking a couple welds, but I started welding and really had a good time with it because it was doing such a good job, and I was actually surprised. Just putting it to the test with a couple of test pieces. And I could see me using this in the future as we're building our next race truck, because it does everything I need it to do. It MIG welds, 1/8 inch, 3/16, 1/4 inch plate, and then it also TIG welds. At least I TIG welded on the 1/8 inch is what I mostly TIG weld on. So I'm super impressed with the machine. There's some things it doesn't do. So if you're looking for something that does AC TIG welding to do aluminum, it doesn't do that. I've seen guys try DC TIG welding, but just doesn't work as well as a pure AC machine as far as the TIG welding. But I generally don't do that. So this machine is actually gonna work out pretty good for us. So much so, I think I'm gonna send my Miller MIG welder to my brother's house. I'm gonna keep this thing here and keep putting it to the test. You'll see a lot of stuff coming out of it, especially as we go down to the Baja 1000, using it on our chase trucks and using it on the next truck build. I think you'll like that stuff. If you've been watching this video, you'll like the build of our next budget trophy truck, which will be happening over the whole next year, and we'll be racing in the Baja 1000 again in 2022. So stay tuned for that. Please consider hitting the like and subscribe, leaving a comment, maybe ringing the bell for notification of future episodes. And we'll see you next week on the next episode. Heck, we'll see you at the Baja 1000. Tune in for that in the next couple of days. Take care of yourself.